Hello and welcome to the Friday DSR Daily. I'm your host for today, Riley Fessler, joined by Minna Stein. Minna, how was your Halloween?
It was fabulous. How was your Halloween?
It was all right. I didn't really do anything Halloweeny. That's tonight and tomorrow. So
Yeah.
to be determined on how good my Halloween is.
I didn't really do anything Halloweeny either, but I'm loving saying Halloweeny.
Halloweeny. I think that's a movie or a kid's book, Halloweeny. It sounds really familiar, but I'll have to research that after the podcast. But in the meantime, Minna, why don't you share with us your first story?
At a rally in Wisconsin, Trump aimed to appeal to women voters by claiming his advisors warned him that his statement was inappropriate. He insisted he would protect women from various threats, including immigration and foreign aggression. Vice President Kamala Harris condemned former President Donald Trump's remarks about protecting women, quote, whether they like it or not, calling it offensive and dismissive of women's autonomy. She argued that his comments reflect a broader pattern of disrespect for women's rights, especially regarding abortion. Harris emphasized that Trump's attitude reveals he does not prioritize women's freedom to make decisions about their own bodies. This was a crazy speech followed by
Yeah.
a cosplay of a garbage man session. You know how like Trump likes to cosplay as everyday people. So he did one
Yeah.
of those, and then he made this speech where he was talking about how he wants to protect women more than anything, and his advisors tell him, "Sir, don't say that. It's inappropriate." And he's like, "Can you believe these people? I pay them so much money, and this is how they speak to me. I'm going to protect the women whether they like it or not." It was, there's a lot of things that he does that are crazy, but this one was, I don't know, he still surprises me sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to still be surprised at this point, but yeah, I mean, that's bizarre. And if you want a little bit more on this in yesterday's DSR with David, Norm Ornstein, and David Korn, they actually talk about this story there a little bit. So be sure to check that out if you want a bit more insight. But yeah, crazy, but not that surprising. Well, what is surprising is that a Pennsylvania judge has temporarily allowed Elon Musk to continue his America PAC cash giveaway for registered voters, despite a lawsuit from Philadelphia District Attorney Lawrence Krasner, who claims the program constitutes an illegal lottery and violates election laws. Musk's PAC is offering a daily $1 million prizes to voters in swing states until November 5th, with participants required to sign a pledge supporting the U.S. Constitution and provide personal information. Judge Angelo Foglietta paused the case pending federal court review, and if declined, the case will return to state court. The federal ruling is unlikely before the election, leaving Musk's controversial campaign active for now. It's pretty surprising. I honestly thought this was a pretty open and shut case. It seems pretty clear that it's an illegal lottery and violates the laws, but apparently Judge Foglietta disagrees. So sucks. Once again, someone in the Trump orbit continues to act brazenly and face no
Shocking.
consequences. Maybe there will be some kind of consequence after the election, but you know, it kind of doesn't really matter at that point. But what can you
When I
do?
saw, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay. When I saw that you picked this story, I was like, didn't we do this yesterday? Like, we know this story is, like, we know this is illegal, what he's doing.
Yeah.
But then I reread the headline and saw that it was the opposite of the story that we did yesterday.
Yeah,
And I'm
it's
like, what? No, this is the wrong.
it's crazy. But,
It's
the legal
almost
system continues
funny.
to strangely provide a smokescreen for all the stupid shit and illegal shit that the Trump camp wants to
Yeah.
do. And it is as frustrating now as it was the first time.
Yeah. Well, in International news. Secretary of State Antony Blinken announced that 8,000 North Korean troops in Russia are expected to engage in combat soon, becoming legitimate targets for Ukrainian forces. He described Russia's reliance on these troops as a sign of weakness amid high Russian casualty rates of about 1,200 a day. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin expressed doubt about the effectiveness of the North Korean troops, stating they wouldn't replace the Russian losses. Additionally, North Korea conducted its longest ever intercontinental ballistic missile test, demonstrating capabilities that could potentially reach the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, these North Korean troops are not going to have a good time. There's
Well,
been
there
leaked
was this.
audio from Russians
That's what I was going to say.
discussing how they're not at all confident in North Korean troops.
Right.
These troops haven't served in any modern conflict, so they have no combat experience, which is, I imagine the point and why North Korea is sending them there to get combat experience. But when it's already a bloodbath for Russian troops, it's going to be even worse for these North Korean troops that are under the Russian command, presumably, and have literally no experience. They're going to get massacred, which I guess is good for the Ukrainians. But, it's on the flip side, any new troops is still a detriment to Ukraine. Just walls and walls of people that Russia keeps throwing at them. It's going to make a difference. But, then I don't think the North Koreans are going to get out of this what they really wanted, other than a show of solidarity with their on again, off again ally.
I mean, like you said, like 8,000 troops is not enough. That's not really that many. Like, it's not going to fix the problem.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot, but if the casualty rate is truly 1,200 daily, they're going to burn through that really quick. And it sounds like I have to imagine that for these, I don't know if they're probably going to have their own battalion, own division, whatever. I have to imagine the casualty rate is going to be a lot higher for that group. So it's troubling, but how much of a difference will this actually make? It's hard to say. Well, keeping things international, severe flash floods in Spain's Valencia region have killed at least 158 people, with the death toll expected to rise as rescue efforts continue. Torrential rains fueled by a lingering Mediterranean storm system dropped a year's worth of precipitation in just hours, turning streets into muddy torrents that swept cars, uprooted trees, and left dozens missing. Nearly 1,000 soldiers joined the search for survivors and recovery of victims amid widespread infrastructure damage, with train services to Madrid halted. Climate scientists point to climate change as a key factor, noting that warmer air holds more moisture, prolonging the storm and intensifying its impact on drought-stricken land. Spain has declared 3 days of mourning as Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez heads to witness the disaster firsthand. Horrible story, as we've covered on every story that deals with storms and, freakish weather events. This is only going to get worse, as the story alludes to with climate scientists saying that, this is going to be worse. These factors that led to this are only going to become more common unless we take climate change more seriously, which, as we covered on a story either earlier this week or last week, we are not on track to address the factors that are hastening climate change, according to a UN report. So we're still not taking this seriously, even as hundreds, if not thousands of people are dying in these various disasters around the world that are just going to keep becoming more frequent, more deadly until we do something.
Yeah, I was going to mention that story that we did on how we're not taking it as seriously as we should be, and we're not on track. And I feel like, I know that the frequency with which these disasters are happening are evidence that we're not taking it seriously enough and we're not on the right track to fixing the issue. So, troubling stuff, and I'm sorry for all of those who are affected by it. But going back over to the United States, Donald Trump has filed a lawsuit against CBS over a segment featuring Kamala Harris on 60 Minutes, which aired in early October. The lawsuit claims that the broadcast presented misleading responses from Harris regarding the Israel-Hamas conflict, omitting a specific answer that Trump labeled a, quote, word salad. CBS called the lawsuit completely without merit and stated they would defend against it vigorously. Trump is seeking around $10 billion in damages and a jury trial, claiming CBS violated a Texas law against deceptive practices. The lawsuit comes amid a competitive election race between Trump and Harris, with Trump also criticizing CBS for an earlier canceled interview, also on 60 Minutes. So it's good to see that they're focusing on the important things
Yeah.
this
And
close to the election.
this is a Pandora's box the Trump camp does not want to open. If you want to talk about getting sued for, yeah, if you want to talk about getting sued for word salad answers, I mean, they'd be screwed. Their coffers would be drained immediately from lawsuits if this became precedent.
Might I point you
So,
to my first story on Trump saying his advisors told him what he's about to say is inappropriate, but he will protect women whether they like it or not.
yeah, it's, this is not new for Trump in terms of bringing bogus lawsuits to try and drain other people's resources through drawn out legal processes. But, CBS is a big fish. They're not going to back down from this. So seems idiotic. I guess this is just more red meat for his base. But I find it hard to believe that this would be convincing to anybody that isn't already convinced. And that seems to be the Trump camp strategy in these final days, is just rally support in the base, which, I think
this does.
it's hard to imagine that Trump hasn't already hit his ceiling among the base. I don't think this kind of thing, this kind of stunt is going to win over anybody else, to be honest.
Definitely not.
But I guess we will see on Tuesday and in the following weeks as the election results come into focus. But until then, yeah, I feel okay. But I'll leave it there. But in the meantime, everyone, enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend. Please enjoy before shit gets real next week. It's the calm before the storm. So enjoy it while you can. But until then, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.